Hi everyone, this is Christy. We are so excited to share this special bonus episode with you. But first, we have some big announcements. If you like the songs the Janitor sang on the show, you can get them right now. They will be included on a brand new EP by the Music Tapes called The Orbiting Human Circus on Merge Records. The official release date is Friday, February 10th, and if you're listening to this before the 10th, you can pre-order it. You can get a copy by going to mergerecords.com or orbitinghumancircus.com. And now we wanted to announce that the Orbiting Human Circus will return with Season 2. And stay tuned in the meantime for a different Orbiting Human Circus special presentation coming out this spring right here on our feed. We'll be telling you all about it very soon. The whole gang at the Orbiting Human Circus has enjoyed making this show for you so much and is so grateful you're listening and that we're getting to do this. And we wanted to let you know that if you'd like, you can help us make Season 2. Our sponsors get us part of the way there, but there are so many people who work so many hours to make this show happen, and there are things like recording studios that need to be paid up front and can't wait until the season is released. If you like the show and want to help us start making Season 2, go to orbitinghumancircus.com and click Donate. And know that your listener support will so greatly help make all of this happen. Please know that any amount will help, and if you're able to donate $50 or more, either all at once or over time as part of a recurring donation, we'll send you a special 2-part bonus made just for you. First, this spring, we'll send you a collection of behind-the-scenes recordings from the making of Season 1, including Julian's demos, so you'll get to hear him do things like attempt to do Jacques' voice. And we'll give you special early access to the first episode of Season 2, before it's released to everyone else on our feed. So if you'd like to support the show and help us make Season 2, go to orbitinghumancircus.com and click Donate. And finally, the Orbiting Human Circus will be going on tour in 2017. The first shows will be in North America beginning in mid-April and extending through May, and we'll have those dates for you very soon at orbitinghumancircus.com/shows, with more shows and more places to be added throughout the year.
Hi, this is Drew Callender. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Choosing a mortgage lender is a really big decision, so it's important to work with one that has your best interests in mind. Check out Rocket Mortgage today for a transparent, trustworthy, totally online home loan process by going to quickenloans.com/OHC. That's OHC for Orbiting Human Circus. And now, please sit back and enjoy Episode 9.
Hello, you guys. Hello. I just wanted to say, first of all, it's so nice to be able to just talk to you now. Thank you so much for all of the incredibly kind and wonderful things that so many of you wrote along with your questions. Okay, so now I'm gonna answer some questions. Some of the questions were too good, which means that well, there are things that are going to be revealed, and I don't want to give anything away that's going to be revealed. I'm just going to talk about things that won't ruin anything if I talk about them. The question that a lot of people asked was, what were some inspirations for the Orbiting Human Circus? Things that I'd heard or listened to, and probably the biggest inspiration for me about what you can do with recorded sound and what that can be actually were these letters that my grandmother used to send me on cassette. She used to make these recordings on tape. She was kind of obsessed with tapes, and she made all these recordings on tape. She was a really, really magical woman. She lived in this crazy rambling house out at the border of Queens in New York, and this place called New Hyde Park, and it was just full of all these old things from a world that didn't exist anymore. I mean, except in her house that I got to play with and be around. And there were all these buckets of rainwater everywhere. She collected rainwater, and I used to get to. I just have all these memories of playing with rainwater, and she used it for all these different things. And she was just an incredibly creative, original, very free-spirited person, and her sisters were blind, so I don't know if this is where it started, but she always did letters. Her letters were cassettes, and she would send me these tapes, and it would be my favorite thing in the world when they would come, and I would put it on, and it would be my grandmother's voice, and she'd be answering questions that I'd asked her. In the last tape that I sent her, we'd send the tapes back and forth. I'd record into my tape recorder talking to her, and she'd record into her tape recorder talking to me. And so, much like this, she'd be answering questions, and she'd stop and she'd listen to my tape and listen to more questions and then tell me the answers to those questions. And then she would record things. She would just go places. Like if she was going out somewhere, she'd bring the tape recorder with her, and she'd just hit record, and she'd carry it around, and she'd just record whatever was happening, not even narrating it or anything. Like the tape recorder would just be going for 20 minutes. It would be sometimes a whole side of a cassette. And it was just, you'd be in this environment with her. And so I'd listen to all the sounds, and I'd imagine the things that were happening in the places where she was, and I would disappear into them. I loved her very much. And I'm going to try to make this recording for you guys much in the spirit of those recordings that she made for me. So that's what we're going to do. And all right, I'm going to answer another question. Hold on. So one question was about the polar bear and what became of the polar bear. And the answer is that the polar bear was never found. Actually, it disappeared. There were millions and millions of theories, but nobody could figure out what happened to it. And it very quickly became a kind of a folk legend that parents would tell their kids to get them to, come in before it was dark out. They'd tell them that the polar bear was going to get them. But I wanted to strongly encourage everybody not to judge the polar bear. Everything that happened was not its fault. So I ask, if you can, please keep an open mind towards it. Also on the subject of polar bears, another question was, what is Julian's connection to polar bears? And that's a question I'd like to answer. And as is actually the case with a few of these questions, I'm not sure whether the Julian referred to is Julian the janitor or the particular Julian who's talking to you right now. But actually the answer is exactly the same, which is that the polar bears, the connection to polar bears comes from our great-grandfather. Another question that somebody asked that's good, I think. My favorite things about the world are things that are sort of the meeting place between the imaginary and the real. Like the Great Recitating Platypus. The Great Recitating Platypus is one of those stories that parents tell their kids, and it's passed down from generation to generation, and the story is something that the parents know is really a dream. It's like, if your child is sick, the idea is if they're good, then the platypus will come when they're asleep and will recite these poems while they're sleeping, and then they'll wake up, the kids will wake up healthy. And by the parent lovingly telling their kid that story, they're sort of creating the perfect circumstances for the kid to have that dream. And, if the kid does have that dream, like many things in life, it's very likely that while the dream is an imaginary thing, they will feel better. And of course, if they wake up and a bit of the dream lingers, as it can and does, and they see the platypus and they make a wish, anyone, I think we've all been, if you've been alive for a while, you definitely have seen pretty irrefutable proof that if somebody really believes that something they've wished for is going to happen, it's much, much more likely to happen than in any other circumstance. And for the kids, it can be real the way that imaginary things for kids can be real, which is, I think, to say that there isn't really a wall yet. They don't need necessarily a wall between what is quote unquote real and what is not real. Because I think for a kid, the functionality of imaginary things is just so clear and present. It doesn't need to be delineated or separated out. But to me, I feel like so many of the most important things in the world and in this universe are in the realm of what you'd call imaginary. Like the parents lovingly telling kids a story like the Great Recitating Platypus or Santa Claus or anything is an act of love, and that love is not material. There aren't any material representations of love. There's just material expressions of love, and I don't think there's anything in the world more important to those parents or to those kids or anybody than love. And so I think so much of the substance of life actually is what you would describe as imaginary, and only really a part of the substance of life is real, what you'd call real. And yes, one big question that got asked that I think is pretty neat is were there things that were in season 1 or in episodes that didn't make the cut for different reasons? And the answer to that question is yes. There's a lot of things, and several people asked if those things existed, if I could tell you about some of them. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. And one that I really like that the janitor told was actually about, I think this is going to possibly scandalize some people, but it is in universe, so I think it's okay. But anyway, one thing the janitor told about was these visits of a special friend of John Cameron's to the set of the Orbiting Human Circus, to the ballroom. A very special friend of his named Carrie. His real name isn't Carrie. His real name is Archibald. John Cameron calls him Archibald, and that's how the janitor knew this. But everybody else knew him as Carrie, and he's a very special friend of John's. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of rumors about the fact that they were very, very special friends. And the janitor did see something that reinforced that idea very strongly one time. Something innocent, but something that led on that they were more than friends. And everyone at the Orbiting Human Circus would freak out, of course, when this fellow would come visit, which would be a few times a year, because he's a movie star, and so everybody was kind of dazzled. And the janitor had seen him in movies. The janitor's one of the janitor's favorite movies was called Holiday, and Carrie was in this movie, and the janitor just was completely starstruck whenever he'd come around, and he was just a very, very sweet person, and he was very, very elegant and handsome. I don't think the janitor had a crush on him or anything like that. But he was just incredibly objectively handsome, which and kind, and so when he would visit, it would always be this very interesting thing, and I think he kind of fascinated the janitor, and watching Archibald and John together was very fascinating for the janitor. And so there are different stories associated with his visits that hopefully some of which will make it into season 2. I hope I haven't just ruined season 2 for you. I mean, it's not really, it's a small thing, but that was something that, as a matter of fact, the jacket that John Cameron gave to the janitor was actually Carrie's. It was something that Carrie had left behind, and Carrie always leaves his clothes everywhere. He's very forgetful, and being a movie star, he could afford lots and lots of jackets. So that was actually where the jacket that John Cameron passed on to the janitor came from. Another thing that's an answer to another question there's that I think would be fun to tell is that it was a question about the hypnosis episode, when the janitor accidentally hypnotized everybody and the janitor himself was hypnotized into believing his greatest fantasy, which was singing on the show, was happening. And the question was about the janitor forgiving John Cameron and John Cameron's motivations. And one thing that I think is pretty important or worth knowing, which was that I don't believe that John Cameron knew what the hypnotist was going to do. I think he knew that the hypnotist needed subjects, and he knew John Cameron, like everybody, had heard the janitor's great-grandfather is the stage hypnotist, of course, and so John knew that stage hypnosis was really special to the janitor, and he knew the janitor was was excited about the hypnotist coming, and he wanted to do something nice for him. And so I think in John's mind, he thought he was doing something really, really sweet by letting the janitor come on the show and be a subject, but he wanted it to be a surprise. And so when the hypnotist brought the janitor out and the kiddie pool came out and the lederhosen and the janitor was in a trance, and I think John was a little bit horrified, or it was him. I don't know if horrified's the right word. I think he was turning red. But John is, as you've seen, one of the truly great and consummate natural showmen, and that he shares something in common with his John Cameron Mitchell, who portrays him, in my opinion. And so John just did what John Cameron would do, which is kind of turn red and play along with it, and ultimately keep the show going. He couldn't really focus on those feelings. That's a tough show to keep running. So that's kind of what happened there. Another question that somebody asked was how much of the janitor's story is real versus part of his imagination. In contrast, I imagine, to the radio show, and so things like his great grandpa and his polar bear boyfriend and all of that. And the answer to that question is that all of those things are real. One question that was asked was, are the people of the Orbiting Human Circus, and I think that means Jacques and Leticia and Francois and Pierre and John Cameron, are those people from the janitor's life, or were they people that he completely imagined? And the answer is, which you will find out anyway, but I think I can tell you. The answer is that they are all people from his life, from his real life, not his imagination. They're all people that he has a relationship to and that he knows. And his imaginings of them, which is what you experienced in the show sequences, were very much like them. And some of them are even based on real experiences he had with those people. Just some of the superficial details were mushed around. Others of those experiences were his imaginings of interactions he might have, and imaginings inspired by his understanding of those people, or his interest in, or his affection for, or his fear of, depending, of those people. And you'll get to know them even better. So, their roles in real life and the things that they do might be slightly different, but even that is, I think, in a pretty neat way. So there. Oh, another big question that a lot of you asked was, is Julian not straight? And like the polar bear question and a couple of other questions, I don't know for sure if the question was referring to me or the janitor, but I understand the question really well, because I know how important it can be at different points in people's lives, to be able to relate to, to find characters in things that they love or like, that they can relate to, or to find people who make things that they like, that they can relate to, or they feel like are like them. And so I'm happy to answer that question on both of our behalfs, me and the janitor. And the answer is the same. Neither of us are straight. Another question about Leticia was, what's the heaviest item that Leticia can deadlift? And all I have to say is that she didn't really need the hand truck to lift the polar bear box up the stairs. As a matter of fact, the hand truck wasn't originally in the script. One question about Jacques that someone asked was, is Jacques as tough as he thinks he is? And the answer to that, I think, is Leticia is as tough as Jacques thinks he is. I think Leticia beat him at arm wrestling, although I think he really doesn't like to talk about that or think about that. Okay, a really good question that I got was, can all crickets tell stories? And the answer to that is yes. Crickets are the greatest storytellers in the world. And it is true that if a bird catches a cricket, it gives it a chance to tell a story, and if it's a good one, the bird will spare the cricket's life. All of that is absolutely true. So somebody asked me how the narrator first met the janitor, or how the janitor first met the narrator. And they first met when the janitor was quite little. It was the first time that the janitor ever tried to sneak out of the house. His stepdad tied all these sleigh bells to the doorknob of the house, he said, to keep burglars away, but it was probably to keep the janitor in. And the floorboards creaked and stuff like that, and the janitor's parents left the door to their bedroom open to hear what he was doing. But he did try to sneak out this one time, and as he was trying to do it, he just found himself narrating his experience, which made him feel more like he was in a story, or was a hero of a movie or something, and he was able to follow through with sneaking out. Now, you all know from when the janitor talked about it in episode 2 that about the time that the janitor's stepdad hit him in the ear, and of course there was the ringing in the janitor's ear, and then that ringing actually turned into this like sound that was kind of like it was kind of like an audience, and the janitor had been imagining that there was an audience, and suddenly the janitor was just filled with this feeling that there were all these people there cheering for him and supporting him, and he didn't cry. And he stood up to his stepfather for the first time, and he was able to stand up to his stepfather because he just felt like he had all those people behind him, that everyone was with him and rooting for him. And that sound in his ear actually stayed for quite a long time. And so did the feeling that the audience was with him, and that was how he started imagining that he had an audience, and that feeling gave him the strength and the courage to run away. Now, somebody asked if in the show the narrator was addressing the janitor's imaginary audience or the janitor himself. And the answer is both. Because in the end, when the platypus finally came for the janitor after he'd spent his whole life hoping it would, and the janitor made that wish, it was, the janitor knows that the platypus is just a dream. But he also believes that if you see it and you make that wish, that it'll come true, and he believes that his wish came true and that you exist. And, of course, for him, that's just a matter of faith. He's right. Someone asked if that wish made the radio show, The Orbiting Human Circus, real as well. And I think the answer to that is, if you exist and you've been listening to it, well then, it's a real show. Thank you, and bye.
Hello again, this is Drew. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to have my own rocket. I was so pleased to hear there was a company that actually gave you mortgages to get one. We know that buying a rocket or a home is a big decision, and so is choosing a mortgage lender. So it's important to work with someone you can trust, who has your best interests in mind. With Rocket Mortgage, you'll get a transparent online process that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision. And you can securely share your financial info to get a mortgage approval in minutes. Whether you're looking to buy a home or a rocket or refinance your existing mortgage, you can lift the burden of getting a home loan with Rocket Mortgage. So skip the bank, skip the waiting, and go completely online with Rocket Mortgage at quickenloans.com/OHC. That's OHC for Orbiting Human Circus. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
And this is Christy again. We wanted to thank everyone involved in making this show happen, including you. The Orbiting Human Circus of the Air was written, created, and co-directed by Julian Koster, co-directed by and developed with Ellie Heyman, and further developed with the cast of the Orbiting Human Circus. It was produced by Christy Gressman, with musical composition and arrangement by Thomas Hughes, and music by the Music Tapes. And associate producer Robbie Cucciaro, sound design by Eric Slider and Julian, chief recording engineer Vincent Caccioni, and editing by Grant Stewart and Julian. It features Julian as the janitor, Drew Callender as the narrator, John Cameron Mitchell as Mr. Cameron, Susanna Flood as Leticia, Dan Solomon as Jacques, John Sergeski as Pierre, Ron Berman as Francois, and Walter Lowry as Coco, with Tim Robbins as the Cricket, Mandy Patinkin as Cantor Moishe Leibowitz, Cecil Baldwin as Professor Edelweiss Fleur, Professor Sogling, Crane Operator, French Nobleman, and Screaming Nun, David Barlow as Mr. Chouinard, Shepherd No. 7, and Aunt Helga, Meg Bashwinner as Switchboard Operator, Horrified Mother, Lady Macbeth, and Screaming Nun, Ben Chase as Professor Heimlich Ipephil, Shannon Conley as Yermak, the pie-eating Cossack, Robbie Cucciaro as the paramedic, Charlie Day as Macbeth, Brian Dewan as the spokesperson of the Perpetual Broadcasting Corporation, Mary Elizabeth Ellis as Lady Macbeth, Chris Ferry as the ambassador to Newark, J.J. Gonson as third-grade teacher whistling the saber dance, Joan Hirsch as herself, Dennis Koster as Roma guitarist, Becky Lauer as switchboard operator, Eric Lochtefeld as the Three Witches, Gavin Roca as Jimmy, and Vin Roca as Fido, Larry Ratzo Sloman as the Santa Claus, Jesse Shelton as Venetia Burney and Countess Margot, Chaim Wolf as Brooklyn Bagel Bakers and Angry Father, and the Alicia Spiegel's Klezmer Ensemble, featuring the late Evan Harlan, Julian's uncle, on accordion, and North, the singing saw, with Presto Lathe recording by Steve Espinola, sound design assistance from Aaron Artisan, production managing by Christy, Callie Jane Farnsworth, Mary Ellen Stebbins, and Blaise Ferrer, additional creative contributions from Jeff Mangum, James Anderson, Drew Callender, Ben Chase, Brian Dewan, Susanna Flood, Andy Lauer, and Peter Tedeschi. Logo by Christy and Julian, copywriting by Andy Lauer, and of course, Gowns by Lilith. And again, if you want to help us make Season 2, go to orbitinghumancircus.com and click Donate. If you give more than $50, either all at once or over time, you'll get Julian's demos from Season 1 and early access to Episode 1 of Season 2. And thank you so very much. We have absolutely loved getting to make this, and we are so glad you're out there. We'll see you again very soon.
Hello, everybody. This is Julian again. I just wanted to say goodbye, and the Orbiting Human Circus wishes you a good night.